The fans are about to debate, should Kawhi Leonard's Spurs jersey be retired?
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey guys, this is Jason David Frank, the Green Ranger, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia. It's morphin' time.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs, right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for Kens 5 San Antonio. Glad to have you back. Hey, heads up, everybody. That cold I've been telling y'all about, well, it got worse. So forgive me if I sound very congested and coughing a bit, but I'm trying to power through it right here for you guys on Locked On Spurs. So as you heard right now, we're going to be having a fan episode, or should I say fans episode, as two fans, one pro, one con, are going to debate why or why not the Spurs should retire Kawhi Leonard's number 2 Spurs jersey. And yeah, should make for a good show. This episode was brought to you by Game Time. Download Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Let's go ahead and bring in our combatants on this episode of Locked On Spurs. You know him, you love him. He is back, everybody. He is against the Spurs retiring Kawhi Leonard's jersey. Zach Escamilla. Zach, are you ready to rumble?
Yeah, man, let's do it.
And on this side of the corner, hopefully he's not going to be, what we saw in the boxing ring from Garcia recently, is Jacob Hicks. Jacob, he is for having Kawhi Leonard's Spurs jersey retired. Jacob, you're not going to pull a Garcia and bow out, are you?
No, I'm not. But hey, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, no problem. And you know what? And let's make it known. Jacob is very vocal on social media that he is a Kawhi Leonard fan. He wears his Kawhi Leonard jersey out in San Antonio. And every time positive stuff about Kawhi Leonard comes out, he lets all Spurs fans know. Yeah, he is a huge Kawhi Leonard fan, despite his exit from the Spurs.
I am, and I like getting the little blowback, and I love showing off all my Kawhi Leonard cards with y'all, and I'm just very thankful. I'm appreciative of it.
So, Jacob, you're the kind of guy that probably has all your ex-girlfriend stuff at your house then, right? Because, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
You know what? I probably do. It's maybe stashed away somewhere.
Oof. Well, let's start it off. Now, how this all started was frequent guest here on Locked On Spurs, Michael Jimenez. Yeah, all Spurs fans love him. Started this off on his show, Halftime, with Jimenez and Spence on San Antonio Sports Star. He advocated that he believes the Spurs should retire number 2's jersey. That set off a firestorm. Spurs fans are up in arms, but slowly, surely, there have been some Spurs fans to say, you know what, maybe he should see his jersey be retired. Zach, I'm going to start off with you. Let's start off about his exit. Is it just really coming down to that, how he exited the Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, 100%, Jeff. The Spurs have been in shambles as an organization since he left. I mean, I know they had that little, playoff run with DeMar when he first got here, and they went to 7 games with Denver, and that was kind of Derek White's coming out party. And,
yeah,
we had that, and there's really been nothing since. Because of his injury situation and him blaming the Spurs doctors. And now it looks like the Spurs doctors were 100% right. He definitely has some sort of degenerative knee issue. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but based on, he's always absent from games. Just looking at the numbers, Jeff, this cat only played in 52 games this season.
What about the idea that, not for lack of better words, but because of the fact he did not make a big stink about his exit, a la DeJounte Murray. He had a quiet exit. He just left. Do you think that should be weighed against him?
I mean, the fact that he didn't really talk back, I guess I'll give him that. I'll respect him for not talking noise about San Antonio. But ultimately, the way he went about it, he really did not do the Spurs any favors. I really believe had he been more under the radar, kind of like how Murray, again, this is where I'll give DeJounte some credit here. He gave the Spurs some leeway. He gave them some runway to find a deal. the fact that they were able to get 3 first-rounders for Murray and only get 1 first-rounder and a borderline all-star in DeRozan for Kawhi is pretty sad, considering at that time, I think his value would have been much higher had he just kind of went to the Spurs on the DL and said, look, can you find me a trade partner? I don't plan to, re-sign, but let's just kind of keep this hush hush. Let me do you a solid. And I feel like because of how vocal he was, and then folks questioning, okay, does he have a knee issue? It tanked his value, man. And for me, it's really hard to forgive that, considering where the Spurs are now. Now, if they get Wemby, and the Spurs start going back on the up and up, maybe I'll be able to forgive a little bit more. But right now, I don't see how any Spurs fan can root for this man. I mean, you're basically rooting for your ex that left you in shambles. It makes zero sense to me. I don't understand the logic at all. Like, I don't get it.
Now let's be very clear. All right, go. Well, hang on tight. Let's be very clear. The overwhelming majority of Spurs fans don't want to see his jersey retired, but there are some that do. Now, you're going to hold your argument for con and pro later on the show, but let me turn it over to Jacob now. Jacob, what about his exit?
Okay,
are you somebody who's pro Kawhi has to see that Kawhi's exit left this team in shambles, as Zach mentioned?
I understand how Spurs fans get upset because of our ugly divorce. And it was an ugly divorce. Don't get me wrong. Some people even describe it as maybe being left at the altar. And if they want to go that far, I guess they can. That's fair to say, right? But my thing is, and I know Zach just brought it up with the way DeJounte Murray left and, asking the front office, but correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that Kawhi Leonard had made it known that he wanted to go to LA.
What do you mean?
I thought that when this whole thing went down, that did he give like a couple of cities on where he would like to be playing at?
Yeah, I don't understand where you're going with this, though.
Okay, well, is that not a way of asking, like, hey, I would like to be traded? I mean, you're making it known if you have like a list. And the only reason I bring that up is because at that time when it happened, the Lakers were getting ready to jump in the bed and go all in for him. They wanted him bad. And that's when we started having those conversations come up where they were like, yeah, the Spurs, Pop is never going to send Kawhi over to the Lakers. We're never going to help out one of our enemies and stuff like that. But that did happen. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to bring that up. Because I know a lot of times they bring it up, and like Zach brought it up too right now. With a lot of people appreciate the way DeJounte went about it and stuff like that. And I think that they tend to forget that, like, hey, Kawhi kind of like made it known that he didn't want to play here, and he made it known in the cities that he wanted to play. It's just that when it almost looks like when they were like, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. That's when he started like acting up, and that's when this divorce started beginning. That's the way I see it.
Zach, you want to respond to that? Because to me, that makes it sound even worse.
I mean, when you're limiting the team, you're saying, I only want to go to the LA teams. I mean, that's really limiting your options when you have a player that was, a rising star in Kawhi Leonard. I mean, it's like me going to my boss at work and say, hey, I need you to send me, to these 2 states only. And he's like, what? Well, maybe I need to send you to some other states. And I'm like, no, just these 2 states. You're setting a bad precedent, man. I don't recall DeJounte Murray actually saying, I only want to go to the Hawks. I only want to go to the Knicks. He just said, hey, you can trade me. I don't want to be in a rebuild. And it was very under the radar. And from what I recall, if the reporting is accurate, allegedly the Lakers never offered anything worth the squat. I think the best offer was like Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, and maybe a pick. They weren't even including Kyle Kuzma or Brandon Ingram in those deals. Because from what I read, allegedly the Spurs wanted 3 first-round picks, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, and that was like the starting negotiation. And the Lakers were like, we'll give you.
Do you want to respond there, Jacob?
No, I remember that, and what Zach is saying, yeah, I do remember that offer. That sounds about right. I mean, it's been kind of long. I would have to go back and look at it, but no, that does sound about right.
So, I mean, I just, again, man, it all comes down to me. When you look at the DeJounte situation versus the Kawhi situation, they were very much apples and oranges because, well, DeJounte, I think he went about it in a more low-key manner. He wasn't going to social media saying, you need to trade me. I mean, he did some little cryptic things, I'll admit that, but he never flat out said, I want to leave San Antonio. I'll never be in a Spurs jersey again, to the length that Kawhi Leonard and his family went. But, just again, looking at the two situations, DeJounte Murray, the biggest thing was healthy. He was healthy. He was coming off an all-star season. His value was high. Kawhi Leonard over here hiding in New York, not communicating with the team. Is he healthy? Is he not healthy? It's really hard to make a deal with any team in the NBA. Much less a team that you want to go to when there's so many unknowns. And I know a lot of people say, oh, the Spurs got a crappy deal for Kawhi. Well, it depends on how you look at it. Yes, it's a crappy deal in terms of the player that Kawhi is, and they should have got more. But was it crappy based on all the known information at the time? Because at the time, there was a lot of unknowns with his injury, and the fact that they were able to get two serviceable players and a first-round pick that ended up being Keldon Johnson, it's not a absolutely trash deal, like looking back on it now. But the reality is, it should have been much better than that. But because of Kawhi's antics and Uncle Dennis and all of them, here's where we're at. We're praying for Wemby or Scoot to come and save us, all because of what Kawhi set in motion. So at the end of the day, is that somebody you want that their jersey up in the rafters? I mean, for me personally, Jeff, I'm kind of in the minority when it comes to my criteria for what needs to be in the rafters. Like, I don't think Avery or Sean should be up there. I really think it should just be the big three and then Iceman. So for me, my standards for jerseys in the rafters are pretty high, probably higher than other fans. So Kawhi, just no, man. Like, you have to be like a ride or die Spur to be up in those rafters, and he isn't that. Clearly, Stevie Wonder can see he's not that.
We're not done talking about this. When we get back, Zach and Jacob are going to continue their debate about Kawhi Leonard and if his jersey should be retired at the AT&T Center right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk to you about Game Time. Look, if you love getting some good, cheap tickets, last-minute flash deals, then you definitely got to try Game Time. Look, forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means that you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. You get images of your seat right before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone. You don't have to ever dig through your email. Download the Game Time app right now or create an account and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. I also want to talk about FanDuel. Look, grand slams, no hitters, double plays are back. There's no better place to get on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. That's because right now, new customers can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Just go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn, sign up, place your first bet, and you get that no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 back in bonus bets if you do not win. Aaron Judge, here's a bet you can make right now. Aaron Judge to pick up where he left off with a home run, you bet on that. Pitcher goes over on strikeouts, bet on that. So don't miss out your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 when you join FanDuel today. Just go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn to sign up. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball. It's going to continue our chat or debate with Zach Escamilla right here on Locked On Spurs and Jacob Hicks right here on Locked On Spurs. Now, Jacob, let's start off with you. Jacob, I know you're pro Kawhi and you would like to see his jersey hanging up there. But at the same time, what about the fact, does this play into your reasoning why? The fact that he did help the Spurs win title number 5, 2014?
You know what? I know that's how this started. And actually, no, for me, that is not why. All I'm going to say is that the Spurs organization, they set that bar extremely low for jerseys in the rafters. And, Zach touched on it a while ago, and he said that there's probably, to me, about 2 or 3 players that shouldn't be up there, right? It's like one day somebody from the front office just went walking around the AT&T Center and was like, you know what? We need to hang some more jerseys from the rafters, and somebody just went crazy. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm going with it. And when you look back, it's like, why didn't anybody question any of this? It's like, hey, well, what did this guy do? They're like, oh, well, he was Robin to 5-0. And they're like, really? That's why we're going to put that one up there? And what about this dude? What did this guy do? They were like, oh, he plays tough defense. Like, come on, man. No, they shouldn't be up there. What did this guy do? Oh, he shot a 3-pointer on his tippy toes. Like, dude, are you kidding me? But what's done to me, what's done is done, right? And then so that's why I say they set that bar that low. Don't get mad at, the Kawhi Leonard, lovers, whatever. They got to look at the Spurs organization because, like, that bar is really low.
Zach, what about the fact that Kawhi Leonard did bring in title number 5?
Now, listen, I just, for a kumbaya moment, I agree with a lot of what Jacob said. I mean, I'm glad that he sees that we are in agreement that the bar was set pretty low. There are some players up there that are good guys and were good players, but when you see, David Robinson, Tim Duncan, Manu, Tony, George Iceman, Gervin, it's like outside of that, no disrespect to those guys. They were all good players, but jersey retiring worthy? I mean, Bruce Bowen, come on, man. He was a great defender, but he shouldn't be up there. So I'm glad we're at least in agreement there. So
it's like we need a Ring of Honor.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, I understand his argument where he's saying, well, if we're going to have Bruce Bowen up there, I mean, Kawhi Leonard definitely contributed a lot more in terms of, at least filling up the stat sheet and being a big piece to the puzzle, if you will. So I understand the argument, but where I would, respectfully disagree is, although he made some major contributions, like you mentioned, Jeff, to championship number 5, guarding LeBron James and, being like one of the top scorers on the team. I mean, yeah, we can appreciate him for what he did there. We can tip our hat and say, you know what, Kawhi, maybe you're an a-hole, maybe you're a snake for leaving the team, but thanks for helping us win number 5. I think most fans can be big enough to admit that much. But, even to those guys that are up in the rafters that maybe we can agree on, Jacob, that maybe shouldn't be there, the one thing that they'll always have over Kawhi is they were Spurs majority of their careers, man. And for Kawhi to only be here for a little while, and for the way it ended, you can't put him up there. I mean, dude, if you had a jersey retirement ceremony up there in 5 years from now, I think people would still be pissed and would be booing. Whether that's in San Antonio, Austin, or Las Vegas, people are going to be like, what the hell is this about?
Zach, I get what you're saying about that, but come on. There's somebody up there in the rafters that we cut. We waived him at one point.
Oh, you're talking about Avery Johnson?
Yes. And then there's another one that we traded. We got rid of him. Sent him to Detroit.
And he came back. Avery came back too, Jacob.
They don't. You know what? If their jerseys weren't up there, then it would be totally different. Be like, fine. But if they're gonna set the bar that low, like, come on, man, we got to be honest with ourselves. And you know what? Like, it really doesn't even bother me if he's up there or not. I'm just simply pointing out that if that's what the bar is, if that's what we're going to set the bar, but then, like you said, we have the Finals MVP for 2014, two-time All-Star, two-time Defensive Player of the Year. You can go on and you can go on and you can go on, and we're not going to put him up there.
Well,
Does
again, I mean,
nobody see anything wrong with that?
listen, when you talk about accomplishments, Jacob, you're not wrong. But ultimately, the way you leave an organization is ultimately how you're going to be remembered. It doesn't matter if I work at a company and I was like, 10-time employee of the month, won all these accolades, but I told my boss to go F himself and I left on horrible terms. They're not going to care about all my contributions. They're going to look on that list and say, is this guy rehireable for the things that he did when he left? It's probably going to say no. So at the end of the day, actions have consequences, my friend. And the way Kawhi Leonard left, it doesn't matter.
Jacob, so you're sounds to me like you're just saying that the bar is just set too low for the Spurs jerseys. Like, that's a big argument for you.
That to me, that is the biggest argument. To me.
But
that's what I'm just saying. I'm just like, hey, we just need to be honest with ourselves. And if that's where it's at, that's where it's at.
But here's the thing too, and you look, like I made a note. I don't think his jersey should be retired. And I think you know that, Jacob. But
right.
you know what? Hold that thought. When we get back, we're gonna wrap up the debate. Zach is gonna give his final argument. Jacob's gonna give his final argument, and then you'll get a chance, you the listener, to chime in. We'll tell you exactly how to chat with us about that and more right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. You guys are the everydayers. Look forward to tomorrow's show. And it's the off season, so I'll likely be draft or perhaps a continuation of this debate. Who knows? But stay right here with us at Locked On Spurs. I also want to talk to you about PrizePicks. Look, you got to get PrizePicks right now. So basically, they have this new thing called the $1 million daily Superflex going on right now during the NBA playoffs and finals. Every day of the NBA playoffs and finals, one PrizePick user will win a chance to become a millionaire. You do this. One entry placed after 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time will be randomly selected each day. Whoever places the entry will be given a six-pick flex with the following payouts. If you get 6 correct picks, you get $1 million. 5 correct picks, you get $80,000. 4 correct picks, you get $16,000. Full details can be found at prizepicks.com/million. You must opt in at this link to be eligible for the $1 million entry. Once you opt in, all you have to do is play the game like normal, and you could be the next lucky winner. And as always, look, you want to go to PrizePicks because you can always win up to 25 times your money on any entry. You don't compete against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. And you got projections on any sport you watch, such as NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, Eurobasket, cricket, and more. Entries can also be made in 60 seconds or less. Super easy, safe, and fast withdrawals. Operational in 30 states and in Canada. Download PrizePicks app. Go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users get themselves a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. You deposit $100, PrizePicks gives you $100. You deposit $50, PrizePicks gives you $50. Don't forget a promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. We're back right here on Locked On Spurs with Zach Escamilla, Jacob Hicks. They are debating whether or not Kawhi Leonard's Spurs jersey should be retiring in the AT&T Center. We're going to wrap it up already. And I want to bring this up to you, Zach. I'm starting off with you. Is this? I think Spurs fans that are pro Kawhi Leonard jersey retirement don't realize that could hurt more than help the Spurs as their transition. Here they are trying to get people in seats, and yet them recognizing a player that's probably public enemy number one wouldn't be good for fan relations.
I think it would be awful for fan relations. Fans are going to be like, really, this guy who left us in the state that we're in right now at the bottom of the barrel when we were a perennial playoff team for 20 plus years. So for me, I think fans would look at it and scratch their heads a little bit and say, why? I think, and here's where I'll concede a little bit. They say time heals all wounds, right? I really think if the Spurs are going to do it, because I'll give Jacob a point. I do agree with them. The Spurs have set the bar low for jersey retirements. We are in agreement there. It's just, I see the way he left as kind of a deal breaker that kind of negates those accomplishments, because had he left amicably, or if, there were any other situation, this wouldn't even be a debate. But because of how it all went down, it's going to take time. And when I say time is, the Spurs are going to have to get good again. They're going to have to get good again, maybe even win another championship. And then maybe then after, whenever the heck that is, if it happens again, people will say, you know what? Let's let everything be water under the bridge and celebrate what he did to help us win number 5. But until enough time has gone by, Spurs are good again, maybe win a championship, I just can't see it happening unless those things happen that I mentioned.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot. I don't think they'll retire him because of the backlash from the fan base. I mean, I think that would be a big reason. I mean,
they're never going to retire him.
No, won't, because I mentioned to bring this. Alvin Robertson, if you look at statistically, his numbers are insane, like incredible numbers. But he had a major off-court allegations and jail time. His jersey will never be there. But if we're just focusing on just what he did for the Spurs and the uniform, there's an argument that he should be retired. Kawhi Leonard, the same thing. And this helps you, Jacob. If you put off the court stuff, the drama and the Uncle Dennis, and just focus on the court, his numbers and his accolades should prove that he should be up there. So let's go to start wrapping this up already. I'm picking number 1 through 5, guys. We'll see who goes first to give their argument to the Spurs fans. 1 through 5. Hold on. I'm not ready yet.
I was going to say 3, Jeff. So, I mean.
Okay, well, then Zach, you win. It was 4. Okay. So, all right, Zach, you go first. Why should the Spurs not retire Kawhi Leonard's jersey?
Well, ultimately, they shouldn't retire it for everything that I've stated the entire show. 1, because of how he left. And 2, because of the backlash from fans. Fans are going to feel betrayed, man, of how could you have this man that did our franchise so dirty? And 3, I mean, right now he's proving the Spurs doctors right, man. Karma has come back for Kawhi Leonard, man. I mean, look at him now. He's going to be out basically these playoffs, and, the chickens have come home to roost, man. So I can't say that there's a part of me that isn't happy that he is injured right now, because I love to see Karma come around and do her thing. But at the same time, it is a little sad too, because it's like, man, had you not been such an a-hole about all this, maybe things could have worked out differently all around, not only for the Spurs, but for yourself too. Maybe you could have got the right care if you weren't being so,
right.
Again, so much of a what. So again, for me, it's a no-go, not because of what he did on the court, because I'll admit, Jacob brings a good point in terms of what the man did on the court. His jersey deserves to be retired based on that. However, because of how he left, it negates all of those accomplishments until a later time when enough time has passed, and then maybe. But right now, it ain't happening anytime soon in my book.
Do you think it'll ever happen?
I'm sorry, Jeff?
Do you think it'll ever happen? Ever?
Well, like I said, if Spurs get Wemby and go on to win a championship or 2, and Spurs Nation is back where we were, 10 years ago, then I think we would say, you know what, enough time has gone by. Let's let bygones be bygones, water under the bridge. We're going to celebrate you for what you did to contribute to number 5. But until the Spurs win some championships and are good again, it's not going to happen until those things happen, dude.
All right, Jacob, your argument why the Spurs should retire his jersey.
Okay, well, like I've been saying all show, I just, if anybody wants to be mad at somebody, like I said, you could be mad at the Spurs organization for setting that bar really low. All right. But as it stands right now, we have, and I'm talking to I want for all the listeners to play a game. All right. After they hear this, and what I want them to do, currently we have 10 players up in the Raptors. You got Johnny Moore, Avery Johnson, Tony Parker, Bruce Bowen, James Silas, David Robinson, Ice, Son Elliott, Timmy, and Manu. All right? And I want y'all to play a game. I want you to ask yourself, all right, did Kawhi Leonard contribute more to the organization than this player? Just go one at a time. All right? I'm going to make I'm going to do one. I'm going to do one, and it's going to probably like the easiest one. And y'all can go with me. So we're going to ask ourselves, was Kawhi Leonard more important to the organization, let's say, than Tim Duncan, right? And obviously we're going to say no, right? It's just automatic, right? Timmy was like the greatest, all right? Then go down to every single player one by one and do the same thing. If at some point you're able to say yes, then the jersey belongs up there. I'm sorry. I didn't make the rules. I didn't set the bar, actually.
Well, there you have it. The debate is in. Probably will continue later on online. But you guys make some good points. Zach, I made it very clear. I'm on your side. I don't think his jersey should have retired. I think Kawhi torpedoed this Spurs franchise into what we're seeing right now. He was the heir apparent. He was the Anakin Skywalker. He was the chosen one to take the mantle moving forward. Didn't happen. And it hurts for Spurs fans because not many major names have been in the Spurs uniforms. You know, they don't have how many jerseys retired in LA, the Lakers, Boston. You know, those type of top star power players have been rare and few in San Antonio. So I get why it hurts. And then Jake, I understand too your point. You know, if you go by numbers, then yeah, there's a good argument that he should be up there. But there's so much to debate about this. Jake, where can fans talk to you on Twitter? What's your Twitter handle? How they can either disagree or agree with you?
Yeah, reach out to me. Follow me. I'm at Hicks Eric7 on the Twitter. I don't know if y'all follow me. You usually know what I'm doing pretty much all day long. But yeah, you can get a hold of me there.
All right. Well, there you have it. You guys make some great points. This has been a very, very big debate among Spurs fans this offseason. It's good filler before the lottery and the draft gets here. So this is such a good talk. And he's in the headlines right now because he's shocking, Zach. He's out again. So for the Clippers. Hey, can we both agree that Captain Jack would never get his jersey retired in San Antonio?
No, never.
I feel like that's
guy.
the one thing where folks will kind of agree on unanimously across Spurs fandom that, you know, Jackson is, he's just a bitter old dude, man. And I'll say this much, man. He was one of my favorite players on the 2003 championship team. So it kind of hurts me to see the turn he's taken, as the years have gone by, because I was a fan. Like, I really was. I thought he was great.
Yeah. Yeah, he brought some excitement. He brought that swagger, that toughness on the court. I do miss that from your Spurs. But hey, we're done talking. We want to hear from you. They told you how you can get a hold of them. You can let us know what you think about this debate. Follow Locked On Spurs on YouTube, the Kansas 5 Plus app, Odyssey app, iTunes. Pick a platform. Locked On Spurs is there. We thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. You guys are the everydayers. Don't forget to tune into tomorrow's episode of Locked On Spurs. So for Zach Escamilla and Jacob Hicks, I am Jeff Garcia. We're putting a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.
Thank you.